Hello and welcome to our Fuel the Classroom webinars. We are Aspire to Be, and in partnership with Microsoft, we look forward to providing these webinars all month. We are proud global training partners at Aspire to Be, and we're really excited about what we have to produce today and look forward to presenting that. So first off, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Dean Garza. I'm a learning technologist with Aspire to Be. I've been in education for over 20 years, and along that route, I've worked with many amazing teachers and seen technology used a vast different array of techniques as well. And it's really exciting to be able to share some of the international educators that are using Microsoft 365 very creatively around the world. So I just want to start with, if you have any questions either during the webinar or maybe afterwards and you think of something about anything that we've presented today, please feel free to contact me using any of the contact details below. So you can see my Twitter handle there, also LinkedIn, and probably the one used most often is my email address. So if you have any questions about something presented today, or maybe you have some suggestions for later, or maybe your school wants to learn how to get started on their Microsoft 365 journey, please let me know. I look forward to it. So what is our agenda today? Well, our Fuel the Classroom webinars were presented last month as well, starting in September and October, and they've been a really big success. So this month, we wanted to make sure we're covering even more of those areas that educators have been asking for. So I'm going to start with a welcome and introduction, as we've done, but I'm going to talk about Microsoft and some of the offerings and why it's so important now more than ever. And then we're going to lead into our presentation from the E-Twins, Enhancing Social Emotional Learning in the Classroom using Microsoft Teams and Class Notebook. And then we're going to end it off with our next steps in your MIE journey. And I'm going to actually bump some of those things forward because I know sometimes not all educators are able to stay for the whole webinar. So I'm going to actually go over some of these things at the beginning for you. But first, let's take a look at hybrid learning, a kind of new phenomenon, especially in the current climate, really calls for new ways to adapt, in terms of reaching our students at home and in the classroom. The need for blending learning has never been higher, but Microsoft has the tools to help you start that journey as well as create a true hybrid learning experience. Face-to-face instruction is really what we're all used to as educators. And virtually, we have Microsoft 365 tools to help facilitate class materials, discussions, and assignments. However, when these elements are added with synchronous, in-person or virtual meets, and asynchronous, this means accessible classroom and lessons at students' pace learning, we develop the full picture of what's really possible. And all of this within the context of personalized learning, relevant and engaging learning as well. So taking a look at the overview of hybrid learning in the last slide and moving into our traditional learning methods that have really helped serve us as educators well, and still has a place for helping students on their learning journey. Even now, it's made up of mainly synchronous and face-to-face elements. And I know these terminologies are thrown around quite a bit. So let's talk about synchronous learning just quickly. And really all that means is that learning is happening in the same place at the same time. Now, this is again with face-to-face learning. That is what happens in between four walls. But next, we see the evolution of blended learning brings the ability to allow for learning in and out of the classroom. So a few years back, you have seen a lot of VLE platforms come up, and one of those being Teams. But before that, Class Notebook in and by itself. This allowed for that face-to-face element for teachers to use ideas in the classroom, and then also allowed for students to access any of those lessons, either to be previewed or followed up on when they're not in the classroom or when they go home for extra work or maybe to assist with homework. So now that we take a look at hybrid learning again as a whole, we can see that all these elements are conjoined together along with virtual classrooms to facilitate synchronous and asynchronous learning. This, however, does not replace traditional teaching at all. It really enhances it, with recent occurrences giving teachers the ability to carry on lessons with students when they're not able to come into the school building, which is, again, the new reality, for lack of a better phrase, but one that we're hearing quite a bit. So, why now? Why Microsoft? Well, Microsoft makes creating an engaged digital classroom very simple. It gives you three main elements that you're going to need to get started on that journey. That's communication, collaboration, and creation. So, if we take a look at Microsoft Teams, one of the most popular hubs and platforms in the world right now for education, gives you the ability to chat, review, and interact with all your content in one place. And not only that, it allows for your students to do that in an environment within the school, outside the school, with mobile and laptops. And then we have PowerPoint. I know a lot of people are very familiar with PowerPoint, but if you haven't used it in a while, there's so many features and so many updates that have made it the go-to tool to really make learning that much more engaging, especially for students when they're creating. It gives them lots of multimedia options to present their lessons, whether remotely, whether it's in the class, whether it's recorded, or whether it's live and collaborating with other students or the teacher. And then we have a third-party app that's taking education by storm, especially over the last year, Flipgrid, one of my favorites. If you haven't used Flipgrid, it's probably one of the best apps out there right now for leading discussion and really building on that collaboration for your classroom. Makes it very easy. And then we have OneNote, which is inside of Teams as Class Notebook, as most of you have seen, organizes all your resources and provides structure for student work. So that's kind of in a nutshell what the Microsoft 365 package allows you to use to get started. And there's so much more, but today we're going to focus on Teams mainly and Class Notebook. But before we get to that, I want to talk about the MEC, or the Microsoft Educator community. And let me go back one more, guys. Now, we're going to be giving out codes, and for some reason, my slide is not loading. However, I will go over this real quick. So we're going to be giving out MIE codes, which is Microsoft Innovative Educator codes, for attending today's webinar. And as you can see, there is a code up here in the top right. However, to redeem those codes, you will have to go to education.microsoft.com. Now, I'm going to be sending these codes later on after the session to all of those that have registered. And you'll also see it here during the webinar pop up on the screen once in a while. However, if you don't worry about that. We will be sending it to you. And on top of that, we are going to also give out a 50% off code for Aspire Ed. Now, Aspire Ed is Aspire to Be's learning platform. Now, what Aspire Ed allows you to do is it allows you to access all of our Microsoft education courses. We have so many that start with Office 365 Essentials. For example, we just talked about Teams and Class Notebook, and it gives you access to all of those. I'll be sending more information about that after the webinar. But let's move on to our presenters for today. Some of you might have heard of the eTwins. You've probably seen them on social media. You've probably seen them on Twitter quite a bit, and also LinkedIn if you're a user of LinkedIn. One thing that they always bring to their presentation is enthusiasm, excitement, and also some very original takes on how to use Microsoft tools. So we're really excited to have them today. And just like all of us, they are dealing with the current situation of COVID-19 in the schools, and how they're having to deal with that is different, of course, from in the UK where we're based at the moment. But they did let me know they were going to be here live today. But again, they're dealing with those issues and also a possible closure of schools next week. So they're quite busy. So I want to thank them, first of all, for sending in their presentation to us to show you guys. But let's talk a bit about them and give you some information about their background. Well, Berto and Mario, known as the eTwins, are award-winning educators and presenters, originally from Spain, and they moved to Utah several years ago to teach 5th and 6th grade in a Spanish immersion school. After coming to Utah, they started their teaching careers, and they were hungry for more learning, definitely. The twins graduated with a master's degree from the International University of La Rioja, and currently they are working on their PhD, focused on future-ready skills in partnership with Camilo Jose Sela, who's from the International University from Madrid, Spain. And here you can see their Twitter handles. I'm going to go ahead now and present their presentation on social emotional learning in the classroom using Teams.
Hello everyone, I am Alberto
and my name is Mario,
and our favorite topics, which is
social emotional learning. If you follow us, if you know a little bit of us, you know that we truly love social emotional learning. So we are so happy to be here, to just talk about this topic that really we are passionate about.
And social emotional learning using one of our favorite tools, Microsoft Teams. If you have been in one of our presentations before, you know that we really like to interact with the audience, to have like a really dynamic session. So be ready, because today you are going to need to participate a lot. So first of all, we would like to thank the team to invite us to present in these webinars, because we always love to share our expertise and share with the world and with educators what we do in our classes and what we know.
And before we start as well, we would love to know where you are connecting from, where you are from. So please just drop in the chat where you are watching us from, and then kind of like your background, your position, because we would love to learn a little bit of about you as well.
So to start, so who are we, Mario? Obviously you can tell we're not English native speakers, right? But we live in a country, an English speaking country. We live in Utah, United States, but we are originally from
Spain. So 5 years ago, we decided to start a great adventure, and we decided to move to Utah and we decided to start our teaching careers. So from that moment, we just love teaching, and we are 6th grade teacher, and he's a 5th grade teacher, and actually I get his students, which is a great improvement for them. They are so happy to finally get a good teacher after 1 year,
a horrible year,
horrible year, yeah.
In hell,
yeah. And we teach in a program called Spanish Immersion, which is basically we teach every subject in Spanish, which is amazing and great. So we are also global educators and international speakers, and we have presented in several conferences around the world, USA, Europe, and all of that.
So we are so happy to connect with you all today. Also, you can follow us on social media, or even take a picture of this webinar, share your thoughts with us. We would love to know what you think of these ideas, what you think of this webinar, and also get ideas from you. We would love to get inspired by your work, by your perspective. So don't hesitate to contact us and start follow us. We will follow you back, and we'll start a beautiful friendship right together.
Yeah, as Alberto says, just we would love to learn about you, and even if it is not a good feedback, we want to hear it as well. Hey, I think that you could do this better. I think that your approach in this topic is not wrong, but you could improve it in this way.
Or my point of view is this one. We would love to know that.
We would love to know it. So some housekeeping items. So share your thoughts in the chat. As we said, we love to to interact with you. We love to kind of know what you're thinking and all of that. Number 2, it is an interactive presentation. So everything you see, and when you see some buttons or some graphics, if you click on those, it will take you to an article, to a research, to have extra information about what we are talking about.
So we will share the presentation with you all in the chat right now. Like in that way, you can like just play with the presentation, get more information. Also, this will be on demand in the future for you to share with your peers and share this webinar. So before we start, also like this is the index, as Mario said. If you want to skip part of the presentation, you can click on one of those arrows and it will take you directly to that section of the webinar.
We highly recommend not to skip anything, but I mean, but if you want, just go ahead and and skip it and go to the parts that you think that are more important.
So why social emotional learning, Maria?
So we have some data. It's not from your country. It is from US, because we normally work with the data, or we normally read researches or even like create some researches based on the data from USA, right? So in this case, we talk about like mental disorders in the United States children, and actually it is very concerning. You know, we talk that we know that 17% of the children have some type of mental disorders. That could be like a very, like I would say, very high mental disorders, you know, like a very disruptive, or even like a tiny mental disorder. But
which are also important.
Yeah, that is also important.
And we need to keep in mind that these are the ones that we know of, right? That are the ones that are diagnosed. So we need to keep in mind that probably like almost twice or more of these children are also suffering these kind of disorders, but they are not diagnosed. So when we talk about social emotional learning in the classroom, we always...
Before moving on, I would like just to add that all of these mental disorders, we need to keep in mind that it is something that it's keeping our students from learning. It is keeping our students from giving the 100% into our classes, to our lessons, you know. So this is why it is so important, you know, like why social emotional learning is important. This is one of the reasons, you know, like just a tiny disorder, or like a problem at home, or something, our students are sad or they are anxious, you know, those things are very important. Why? Because are preventing our students from you know, like giving 100% in our classes.
Also, we always like give the same example. If we take the very, very, very best teacher in the world, the best communicator, the best like I don't know, like communication skills,
and the best
lesson, we put it in a classroom with like 30 children. If those children has some mental health disorders or problems, even if we have the best communicator, the best lesson, those children are not going to learn, because there is something preventing them from learning. And that something is that like mental health disorder, or maybe it's not quite that big, but maybe they had a bad morning, something happened with their dog, or something happened like that. So we need to keep in mind that those things are preventing our students from learning.
And they're important. They're important.
Really important.
Really important.
Important. Okay, moving on. When we talk about social emotional learning, we always focus on 3 areas, which are preventing programs, identifying students, and intervention strategies.
So we're gonna talk about all of this during this presentation, and as we said, you know, is you know, like there are 3 buttons with more information. You know, like if you want more information, just click on those and it will take you to different researches.
Also, even if we are going to talk about the 3 of them, we are going to be focused on prevention programs and identifying students due to the time we have here today.
Mm-hmm. We will mention all of them. We will talk a little bit about all of them, but we will focus on just the first 2.
Yeah. Prevention programs. So what are the prevention programs, Mario?
So basically, the prevention programs are those actions or those things that a teacher do does, sorry, to create a good environment in a classroom. You know, every single action, every single detail that you as a teacher or your teachers do to create that safe environment where the students feel safe to talk about emotions. They feel safe to talk about feelings and about what is going on that day. You know, why they are worried, why they feel anxious. So it is very important to have that environment where the students can come to you and say, hey, Senor Mario, because I am Senor Mario. Hey, Senor Mario, I am having a bad day. Or, you know, like I am not performing well in the last week. I need some strategies, like what is going on. I need to know how can I improve, or give me some, you know, some tips, or I need help. How can I kind of overcome all of these stress or problems?
And if our prevention programs are really good, we are not going to need as many interventions as we would need if our prevention programs are not working. So we need to keep in mind that we need to focus on prevention programs. In that way, we don't need to focus on intervention strategies. So this is what Mario was talking about before. We need to end the taboo around emotions by becoming the role model in the classroom. We need to also open our heart to our students and talk about feelings we may want to share with them, that we had a really bad night or we had a problem in our family. We always say that we cannot ask students to do something that we don't do.
Exactly. It's like you can say to your students, hey, you cannot sit on the table while you're sitting on the table, right? Or some stuff
Hey,
like that. Yeah.
Don't sit on the table, right?
So this is exactly the same. You cannot ask your students to open their heart or to talk about feelings if you don't talk about feelings, right? It's like it is all right. Like during this remote learning situation, doing all of this, like everyone is struggling. So it is completely fine to tell your students, hey, we are in the same boat. You are struggling. I am struggling as a teacher. You know, I have a hard time just playing the lessons. I have a hard time learning about all of these tools. It is the same that you have a hard time doing your homework, that you have a hard time just being alone at home and not interacting with your peers, with your friends. But we're on the same boat. Just tell them that is completely fine, and create an environment where they feel safe to talk about all of these situations, because you as a teacher are talking about this.
For this, we are going to do an activity with you all. So these pictures are amazing. They are from the CNN gallery about the COVID outbreak. You can check that because it is just mind-blowing, like the pictures you can find there. So we're going to do like really short, like fast, fun activity with you all. So right now, we want you to put in the chat, to write in the chat, what was the first thing you thought when you saw this picture?
First thing that
just one word.
Yeah, first thing that came to your mind when you saw this picture.
So Mario, what was yours? I know this is not the first time you saw this picture.
I'm going to cheat because it's not the first time that we do this presentation. So let's pretend that it is. Right?
Okay. So Mario, what was the first thing that came to your mind when you saw this picture? Just one word.
I would say like
specific.
Frustration.
Why?
I would say frustration because it is out of our control. All of this situation is something that we were not part of, or it is out of our control. We can't do anything to improve it. You know, we miss graduations.
We can do stuff.
Well, we can do stuff, you know, but it's like we just can't click the delete button, right? And just like
erase.
Yeah, and erase the whole virus, or just you know, like kick it out of the earth or whatever, you know. It's something that it's out of control. So we have missed graduation. We've missed very important events, and we couldn't do anything about it, you know. So I would say yes, frustration.
Next one. So please drop in the chat one word really specific about like the first thing it came to your mind when you saw this.
What do you think, Alberta?
I would see kind of new reality, or I don't like that word. I actually hate it. Like we have like we have heard it so many times about the new reality. I don't want the new reality. I want to go back to the old one, right? No, I think that this is how things needs to be done right now. So probably like I would say like flexibility, right? Like we have adapted really well to these new situations. So flexibility can be a good one for this, like the teacher grading the paper.
Not as well as I thought I was going to,
but
yeah.
we are doing our best, right? This is very sad. It
sad.
My heart.
I would say that sad. It's the word that it is just sad. You know, we
Just
always say
keep dropping
keep dropping the words.
ideas.
We always say that education is about relationships. It's about relationships with your students. It's about relationships among them, right? How they interact with each other, how we interact with other teachers to learn from them, how we interact with administrators, you know, to get some tips, how we can improve our teaching. It is about relations. And right now it is tough because those relationships or those relations are
hard.
Are hard, and those relations are not, I would say, are not natural, right?
All right, this one is also a pretty tough one.
New reality.
New reality again. My very favorite word, guys. Yeah, like new reality, like things that we are forced to do due to this situation. But again, flexibility can be a good one. Kind of like unity, maybe like everyone is trying to do their best to follow directions as much as they can to for this to be over soon. So it can be like this teacher, she's following guidelines of like from their district or whatever. So
administrators or whatever, yeah.
All right, so this was one of the things that we want to share with you all. This kind of activities you can replicate it in your classroom as well to like also like open your heart and talk about your students. You can be part of the game as we were. And we are going to jump right into the Castle framework, probably one of our very, very, very favorite frameworks ever, right? Because sometimes we forget that social emotional learning has two parts, social and emotional, right? And lately in this pandemic, we have been focused on the like emotional part,
which is great.
It's great, but we sometimes forget that there is like also a social part of it. So the Castle framework has like 5 different like sections or categories, I guess.
Well, if you don't know about Castle framework, it's one of the most important frameworks of SEL, you know. So if you want to learn about it, just click on more info because it is very interesting. It kind of, I'm sure it will change your perspective or how you plan or how you create your lessons, how you create your classes. If you want, it gives you a lot of ideas and it gives you a framework, you know, to kind of tweak some activities to
add that social emotional learning piece.
Exactly. So to add that part of SEL that maybe you're not having right now in those activities, and then with this framework, it will be very, very easy for you to take that and add it to your activities.
Yeah, as I was telling you before, Mario interrupted me. like the Castle framework has like 5 categories and 5 categories.
No,
and we are going to talk about all of them. How we like create activities around Microsoft Teams to hit the 5 of them.
Yeah, so just get comfortable and then get something to drink, some popcorns, and let's have fun in the next 2 hours.
Because we are about to start.
I'm kidding. It's just like 30, 40 minutes, 30 minutes. Just you don't just close the window.
Yeah, like we talk about a little bit of the background of social emotional learning. We always do this, even if this webinar is more focused on Microsoft Teams. It is like really good to have that background, to explain the background for those like attendees that is the first time they're exposed to this kind of pedagogy or this kind of approach. So we have talked about the social emotional learning, and now we are going to try to integrate that technology piece that what it does is enhance what we do.
And it is very important, guys. Why? Because There's this misconception about technology. When we talk about social emotional learning, when we talk about socialization, we see technology like the bad guy, right? It's like technology, we see it as like the
goes against it.
Yeah,
The villain
yeah.
of the
Technology
story.
goes against socialization, and like it is a common misconception. It's like, no, if you use technology, your social skills are going to decrease, right? And that is not true. We're gonna show to you how you can use technology to actually enhance those social emotional learning skills, and I think it's going to be like eye-opening for some of you. It's going to change your mind about technology and how you use technology in the class.
And we love this quote from our greatest friend, Marcus Parble. If you don't follow him on Twitter, please stop everything you're doing right now and go right now to follow him. He's kind of
You can even mute us if you want.
yeah, he's like a guru of social emotional learning. All his work around the topic is just like excellent, and he is sharing constantly on Twitter different like ideas, different researches, different activities on how to add that social emotional learning piece into your lessons. So the quote says, the greatest potential for technology in education is to humanize the learning, not simply digitize the content. It's huge, right? And makes you think a lot. So first category of the Castle framework is self-awareness. And we are going to talk about how we use Microsoft Teams to this. So we are going to highlight 3 activities. The Reflect tool, which is pretty new. It came out like last month, I think.
2 months ago, I think.
2 months ago. And the social emotional learning polls that we do in our classes, and the OneNote integration and some activities that we do using OneNote to kind of add social emotional learning.
So our goal here is to show to you some activities, but as I say, like we don't want, well, if you want to copy them, that's completely fine, but we want to inspire you. You want to like, you just think about how you can implement these activities in your class. You can tweak them and say like, all right, this is great, but for my students, this activity is not going to work. I'm going to take this idea and tweak it and do it in this different way to meet all of my students' needs. That is what we want, right? So we're gonna like throw to you, well, not literally, but throw to you a lot of ideas and a lot of activities and all of that, and we want you to kind of get those ideas and just tweak them and take them to your classroom. So the Reflect tool is a really brand new like tool that is just like a mood meter, a mood checker that you can do with your students every day on the mornings on Teams.
Yep. Yeah, of course, on Teams. Maybe the general channel or like whatever you want to do it to check how they are feeling. That's really important to know how they are feeling. In that way, you have like maybe kind of how your class is feeling, or even like you can do it after or even like before a big test. If they fail, maybe that can be the reason, or maybe after recess to know if they had some problems during recess, how the Reflect affects their mental health and all those things. Really, really useful.
Yeah, we use a mood meter like this, every day, actually. In the morning, like first thing our students do, well, they do planners because we have online planners, and they do mood meter as well. So the idea of this, like we have like the entire week, so we can take a look of how they are feeling each day and how those feelings have affected to their performance. It's not related with Teams, but on Fridays, what we do, we ask them to review this mood meter on Flipgrid. Just like it is hard at the beginning for them to open their heart and talk about their emotions, their feelings, but after a couple weeks, 3 weeks, it's just amazing what they can accomplish and how they talk about their feelings. And that is just mind-blowing. So the next one is like polls that we do. Yeah, some polls that you can do. You can create on Microsoft Teams as well. So basically, it's kind of the same concept. You create polls to see how they are feeling. If they have hard feelings, if they have had a hard weekend, if something happened. So you can create polls with different questions about how they are feeling. As we said, all of this is part of the prevention programs. All of this is part of that phase where you create a safe environment. So all of these tools are great to have our students talking about emotions, about feelings.
Or even like a question like, have you smiled today? It's a really basic question, but it's really important. Have you say thank you today? Have you like said something nice to someone today? Like those really like things that maybe like click with them and make them realize that wait, like I can kind of say something nice to everyone now, like like kind of those things that kind of are eye-opening for them. These tools are really good for that. And then we're going to talk about the OneNote integration. This is the mood meter that Mario was talking about like before.
So we've used a lot of different kinds of mood meters. We've used the one that we talked about on Teams. This is what you are using right now, Alberto, right?
Yep.
And I use a different version a little bit, but as I said, we tweak them to meet our students' need. I used this one last year. I'm using the taking on Teams this year. I'm using as well another kind of model, another kind of graph. So as we said, this is just an idea. Just tweak it, change the graphic, change whatever you want, the kind of activity that you are doing right now. So what you can see right now is the mood meter. So what is this? Basically, our students have the first thing they need to do on Monday is on Monday, or actually on the first of every month. For me, it's Monday. Alberto does it monthly. So first of every month, they kind of connect colors with feelings. So as you can see here, blue is energetic, motivated. They picked that. We don't actually, it is blank when we give it to them. Kind of the
whole thing is
the
blank.
whole thing is blank.
They color and they attach or they like connect feelings with emotions, and then every day they go here every morning and they color. They even do it at home on weekends. It's just mind-blowing. It's just amazing.
And if you are doing it remotely, it's great as well. They color it and then they can do it in their OneNote or Teams. So you can do it online or check on them and review it, and then you know how they are feeling every day.
So we do it from September to June, like the whole school year, and you can see the improvement. And also, it's a good way to identify students that are struggling. We do it a lot. We identify students through this kind of activities a lot, and we set up in place some interventions, like maybe one-to-one conversations or one-to-one like sessions with our counselor.
Exactly. Email to parents like, hey, I checked the mood meter of your child and it looks sad, what is going on? And then parents say, this is what we are seeing at home, and there's some frustration with whatever.
It's really powerful.
It is super powerful.
This is another version of mood meter. Like it is more like maybe for junior high or high school. Or secondary has more like emotions on it, and it's really important that the teacher needs to explain these emotions before they start using the mood meter, right? Because sometimes we see people like start using this, but students don't know what chill. Yeah, but like other kind of like blissful or like something that more like complex emotions fulfill. All those like complex emotion means. So like the teacher needs to talk about the emotions and like let them know what those mean and how they can recognize those in their body, right? So we talk about self-awareness, and now we're going to talk about social awareness. Really, really important. We always say that one of the most important skills in social emotional learning is empathy. And social awareness, big time. Social awareness is the way to empathy. So before we continue, please drop in the chat some thoughts about self-awareness and how you can like work on that in your classroom.
Yeah, self-awareness, not social awareness yet. Okay. While you are dropping those thoughts in the chat, we're gonna start talking about social awareness. As Alberto said, empathy. It is such a powerful word, and I think it is the word for us, and it's one of the most important things, and I would say in the entire school content. In the entire school setting, empathy is one of the most important things to teach to our students. Why? Because they're just going to see the world in a different way. They are going to understand other people. They're not gonna get so frustrated. They're gonna know how to deal with the frustration of other person because they know how they are feeling. It is just so
It's
powerful.
so important. How we can do that with Microsoft Teams? We do it through 3 different activities, or 3 different ideas: the cultural activities, global projects, and Teams meetings with guest speakers or someone that just wants to talk to our classes. So this is the Skype in the Classroom new webpage. I don't know if you are familiar with it, but
And the Skype-a-thon, well, it's not the Skype-a-thon anymore. It's coming.
yeah,
It's
big time.
It's next week, I think, in a couple 10 days, kind of 10 days. Next week.
It's less than that. I don't know, it is coming, but I think that Skype in the classroom is a really important tool for this, for all the cultural exchange and find classes, guest speakers around the world. So the next one can be big projects or global projects. We did this one a couple years ago.
Yeah, so it's basically we connected schools, to work on a project, and then we connected 3 schools, 2 different languages, which they were Spanish and English, and we basically connected our content as well. So I don't want to to take a long time to explain this, but I'm going to be very brief. So basically what we did was we created guides from the national parks. We got all of the national parks in USA, and then we created guides about those national parks in Spanish. So the idea is our students need to research about weather, ecosystem, which is animals. They needed to research about geography, where those national parks were, and all of that. And we were thinking about this, and we were like, all right, our students are very, very tired of working all the time with the same people, all the time with the same groups. We can kind of change the groups and all of that, but basically it's the same. They are the same people. So we decided to connect through Teams 3 different schools. So the groups were made by students from 3 different schools, and they worked together in this project. They were creating guides of the different national parks. So the idea of this was all of these 3 different schools were placed or were located in different communities. They were located in different cities, in different
background, perspective, exactly. Point of views.
So the idea is every school brought to the table a different thing. So that's why we talked about empathy. That's why we talked about social awareness, because it is very important for our students to work with people that are not in the same environment, that they are not in the same community, because they need to learn how to work with people that think differently, that see the world in a different way, and they need to learn how to work with those people.
I cannot think of a better tool to connect with people and make those social interactions than Microsoft Teams. So you can do that, find a classroom, a class, around the world, connect with them, start a project that matters and is meaningful, authentic to your students, to develop those social awareness skills.
And as we said, I don't know if we mentioned this, but we use Microsoft Teams. We created meetings on Microsoft Teams, and they connected through Microsoft Teams.
And also they had their own private channel, and they had their own OneNote section,
and then files and all of that.
Yeah, all of that. It was pretty awesome experience. And then we jumped really fast on the next one, relationship skills. And this is how we did it during our quarantine time last spring. We are back face to face, but this is what we did the last spring. We tried to find a way to keep those relationships going, to kind of build that trust and those relationships with our students, teacher student, and student too.
Yeah, so it is very important, because if we think about a school, for us, it's not just content. It's not just classes. They need to have fun. We teach elementary, so it's even more important. They need to have fun. They need to go out to recess. They need to be excited about coming to school, about learning, So it is very important that right now, during this time, that it is everything remotely, that they can see their friends and all of that. It is very important that we do our best to keep those relationships, to keep that time, or to give them that time to play with them, to have fun with their students. I mean, with their friends.
With their friends. And this is Mario. So Mario,
what a picture.
were you doing here?
So basically, like we used to connect every day with our students. We are now, as Alberto said, face to face, but we used to be remote in the spring. And we were like, at the beginning, the meetings were just boring. Like, let's be honest, we focused too much on
content.
We focus too much on lessons. That's just boring. We don't want that. So, well, kind of. Don't get me wrong. Our content is amazing. We need to teach science and history, but you see where I'm going,
but
right?
There is more than that.
Yeah, well, you can see my point. So we talked about it, and we were like, no, we need to change this. So we started to do some themes for every call, right? So hat day, crazy hair. Another one was like pajama day, costumes, sunglasses. So we started to do all of that, So in every call, there was a different theme. Another was like I can remember, like a sprint or like a joke of the day, that stuff. So you could see all of the students just like wearing a hat or wearing sunglasses. And to be honest, it's not a huge thing to do. It's just a small details that gives you or gives the class that environment where they are relaxed, where they want to have fun, where they are just more engaged.
And then we opened this channel, which is just chatting channel. So like recess time, right? It is a way for them to still interact with each other, still to make those social connections to them with their peers. So this is like the channel where they can share those things that they share in class. Like yesterday was my grandma's birthday. We went whatever, to celebrate it, or my dad names, or my cat,
even gifts, or gifts, this is my pet, and a picture with a dog, something like that.
Like what they usually share with their peers and with us in the classroom. We wanted them to keep doing it in this channel. Pretty much everything is allowed here.
Pretty much everything.
The jungle.
Yeah. So but
how do you know what you can find here? Like every day is an adventure in this Microsoft channel.
So how did we come up with this idea? It was very easy. We had our general channel, and then every time we posted an announcement in our general channel, it got buried, after 1,000 gifs, or 1,000 emojis or fun stuff, and we were like, this is not working. No one can see our announcements. They are going to miss everything.
And also we saw the need of communication, need of interaction between them or among different students.
So if you can't beat your enemy, you need to join it, right? So we did that, so it's we can't, there is no way we can just have these children, looking at our announcements when there are 1,000 funny gifs around it, So we were we had two options. The first one is disable gifs. It's something that you can do, but we didn't want to take away the fun, right? So we were all right, let's create another channel, recess time, jungle time, however you want to call it, and let's just have them doing whatever they want, talking about their pet or gifts.
There are boundaries, right? There are boundaries, of course. There need to be boundaries, but between those boundaries, they can have fun. This is their space to have fun and enjoy with their peers. Also, something that you can do really fast at every meeting. At the end of every meeting, just a quick picture of a together mode. They always love that. You can even have different picture of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, put it in Microsoft Teams, or even in the files or whatever. For
silly
them.
Faces,
whatever.
We said hats, sunglasses, and then have a picture of every meeting. Create I don't know, collage of it, a portrait, something like that. Just be creative. Create a good environment for them.
Also, we did weekly calls with parents in the spring. So we met with parents and students once a week with all of them. I have 50 students. I had 49. So we met with every single of them every week. Not to talk about content, to talk about how they were feeling during the pandemic, during the outbreak, what we could do to improve them. How's their family life going on, what's happening. We wanted to establish that connection with parents, establish that connection with them, for them to know that we are here to support them, we got their back, and all of those things. And it was a huge difference when we established those relationships with parents and students.
And it's very easy. Just set up a meeting on Teams. They join the meeting. And as I said, we talk about how they are feeling, how I can support you as a teacher, how I can support your family, how I can support your student. Let's go in the same direction. Like we want the same. It's like the student to be successful, right? So how can we do this?
Then responsible decision making. This is a big one, right? Like digital citizenship and all of those things. Students, what we have seen during all of this is like they have a hard time behaving well in an online environment, right? And we can see that in social media, we live in this like new society that you can say whatever you want because you are behind of a computer. You are like anonymous, right? We can see that in social media everywhere. So we feel like we have the obligation of teaching our students how to do better than our generation right now. So this can start in Microsoft Teams, and we have here an example. This is one email we had like at the beginning of like this like COVID outbreak, and was like, all right guys, we don't know how to fix it, so the best solution is that to get rid of pretty much everything. It was useful, right?
So yeah, I was I hope no one from our district is watching this, and I hope they're not, and I'm sure they're not, so we can talk freely, right? So we got this email from our district, and we were so mad, like
I went nuts. Like it was like this. There is no way this can be happening.
So now what, right? Like how can we fix this? Or like they just took away everything, like everything we need. There are relationships, how we were establishing those relationships with our students, those calls. It's not important. Yes. Let's take it away.
And just to like, to me, if we compare this online environment with a face-to-face environment, it's like doing this is like taking like a piece of tape and like taping all my students' mouth. Like you are talking, best way to do it, I'm gonna tape your mouth and you're not gonna talk anymore, right? So I think how we see it is like we have that obligation to teach our students how to behave in an online environment, and Microsoft Teams is the perfect tool for this because it's actually everything you need. It's right there. So it's
a communication tool. You can include all of your apps that you're using. Like you can include all of your files, content, whatever you want. And as Alberto was saying, let's use this as an opportunity to teach our students what they can do or what they can't do in a online environment.
We need to have guidelines, rules, like different like ways to have them like learning those important things for their future. And then these two are really connected, right? We talk about responsible decision making and self-management, right? It's pretty much they're the same.
If you are good at self-management, you're going to take good decisions,
right?
Or that's what we think.
That they are related. So a good way to do this self-management and to spark these skills in your classroom is by having them setting up their own groups with their own rules, roles, and tasks. How we can do that? We can use private channels in Microsoft Teams.
Well, maybe some people don't know what private channels is. It's basically you create a channel that is private. No, I'm kidding.
Wow. Mind blowing.
I'm kidding.
Are you sure?
Basically, you create a channel, and you can set up a password. You can give them access to certain students. I just mix with the OneNote. So you create a channel and you give permission to certain students to access to that channel. For the other students that don't have permissions, they are not even going to see it. They won't see that there's a channel there. So only those students who have permissions will see the channel. So it is very important for different projects, because they can communicate inside of that channel. They can start a live meeting. They can have their files there of the project.
So it's a good way to give them a private setting where they can set up their own rules, set up their own roles. Okay, you are going to be the leader, you're going to be the secretary, you're going to take notes, you're going to, so those private environment that gives them access to have that freedom to set up their own or to start doing that self-management that we were talking about before. So we use that a lot. We also, this is a long process at the beginning. It's going to be really hard for them to do that because they are not used to do these kind of things, but after all, they are going to know how to manage themselves, how to set up
It
rules.
is a long process.
Do
not expect results in the first week or the first month, because you're not gonna have them. You just need to keep doing that, and then
make sure to pop in different channels for them to help them out, manage their stuff, and even have a template with different roles, or a template with example of the rules for the group. All those things are really useful. You can even start a new tab and add that as a PDF that is going to be right there for them to follow.
Exactly.
We're reaching the end of this awesome, fabulous webinar.
And we are on time, which is amazing. And we are never on time. We talk way too much. We love to talk, so we always
running, rushing through stuff. It's all right.
We have 10 more minutes and 25 more
slides.
Yeah.
So we wanted to end with just a final reflection. We truly think that social emotional learning skills should be or need to be taught in every single classroom across the whole world. It should be required, even by law, to teach these kind of skills. They are so important they are key for our students.
And we've been talking about this the whole presentation. Your students can't learn if there is something preventing them from learning. So that's why it is so important, social emotional learning.
And also, before we end, we just want to give you a big shout out to every teacher that is working so hard for make this possible, for make education possible.
And it's not easy, and it hasn't been easy the last, I would say, 4 or 5 months. It's been hard, and we know that. And we are teachers as well, so big shout out to every educator around the world, and those who are watching this webinar. You are superheroes. You are doing great, and it's just amazing
what you are doing. And make sure to take care of yourself. As we like to say, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So you need to be emotionally healthy to be able to help your students to be emotionally healthy.
We've talked about how you can help your students with their feelings, how you can create that safe environment, but the most important part is take care of yourself. As Alberto said, you just can't create a safe environment or a healthy environment if you're not healthy.
And then you're not healthy, it takes you to burn out. And we have some data here about different teachers that left the profession or because they couldn't handle it. And it is a lot of pressure, a lot of anxiety, and all of that. So before we leave, we want to, sometimes we are focused on the bad stuff that is happening right now, and we forget about all the great things that are happening around us. So I need now everyone to close your eyes.
It's that kind of awkward moment.
Close your eyes for 10 seconds and focus. Think of
one thing that you are grateful for. And we would like you to focus on the, I would say, last 5 months, 6 months, and related with education. Your profession. What are you grateful for, and what are you grateful for?
And if you feel that you want to share that with everyone, you're more than welcome to drop it in the chat. We would love to see. So let's do it, Mario. 5 seconds.
All right, so they were not 10 seconds, but this is not my favorite activity. I feel so awkward when I have my eyes closed and I have people watching me.
But it is a good one to do it. It's really important. So Mario, which one is yours?
Okay, let's pretend this is the first time that we have this conversation, that we do this activity. So I would say that is related.
Let me guess.
People. Oh my gosh, you just read my mind. Twin connection, twin power is working today, right here.
Why people, Mario?
I say that it is people. Why? Relationships. We talked about this before. It's been great to see how in the last 5 months, 6 months since all of this started, like all of the educators have come together, and then push in the same direction. Like as Alberto said, Unity, it's been one of our favorite works lately. Like the education community just have helped each other, but not just educators. Like companies out there, like these big companies who offer which offer like free PDs, free webinars and free resources to help the educators. So we've loved to see how everyone has been helping other people, and it's just been amazing, and it's been just a great thing to see.
It's a great thing to see, and one activity that we always recommend to do, we do it, and it is like life changing. Like we have this like small jar where we put like good things that happens to us in it, and when we are having a bad day, we just go there, open it, and just like remember things that we are grateful for or good things that happen to us. So you can start that even right now today. Just grab one, like even like it's more like I don't know, like mug or whatever, and you can put the stuff on it, a cup or whatever.
Yeah, just get a sticky note, write what you're grateful for, or
and put it in it.
Yeah, just write about something great that happened to you. I don't know, I went to Starbucks and the guy in front of me paid for my coffee. I don't know, something.
Or they
like
told me I have a beautiful hair today, or whatever. So let's put in it, and it's a great thing to have when you are having a bad day. Just check it, and it will cheer you up.
It is a great thing to do with your class as well. Like you can have individuals of these as well, or one big one where you put everything. Like just,
or even like digitally, you can do it on Flipgrid. We also do it on Flipgrid with our students, where they like can do that, like drop like good things that happen to them. Also, just a couple of resources before we leave. We love SEL in EDU. It's a Facebook group led by the awesome Mark Sparble, so you can join them. It's like, I think it's over like 7,500 educators already.
No, more 7,000, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
7,500, I think, in total. I don't know, like there are a lot of educators sharing free resources, free ideas.
Makes sense,
yeah, 7,500, I think.
Yeah.
Like free ideas, free resources, like great things to do with social emotional learning. And then We Teachers, which is part of the We movement.
Exactly, and they have a lot of great resources, about social emotional learning and all of kind of stuff in their website. So check those resources. As we said, this presentation is interactive, so you can click on those buttons and it will take you to the website. And just thank you so much for being here with us. For just share this time with us. We are super grateful
to be here with you all. So please connect with us on social media. We would love to see your ideas.